Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a speedway rider in the 1970s. He was a big guy. He was huge, but he was very popular. He never won a speedway race. He crashed most of the time, but he was famous and he was very popular. When I was racing with this guy, I wish I was that popular. And who was that? It was Patrick Tumbleweed Walton. He was a big dude, and he just literally lit up the Costa Mesa Speedway. Larry Huffman went ahead and announced his name, Tumbleweed Walton. And Tumbleweed, he was very famous and he was very popular, you know. He just was the crowd favorite. And like I said, he never finished a race hardly. He never won a race. But he was popular and he was very famous and he was very good in popularity. And he was a racer and he melted with all the top riders, but he wasn't a top rider. And I remember racing Tumbleweed one time. I think I raced him one time. And I went up to him and I grabbed him by the uniform and I said, Tumbleweed, do not knock me down. Do not fall on me. I said, if you fall on me, I may die. So do not fall on me and do not crash me. I threatened Tumbleweed to not do that. And he did not do that. He was like, I'm going to back off of this guy. And he never did that. But Tumbleweed Walton was a character. And like I said, he never finished a race. He just was a crowd favorite. He'd usually go around the first turn and then whoop, fall down. And everybody low. Oh, Tumbleweed. He was famous. He was popular. And he was not the most gifted rider. However, he was one of the most popular riders. Everyone just loved that guy. And he was a cool dude. And I kind of fell out of touch with Tumbleweed. And about a few years ago, actually about 10 years ago, because he passed away like 7 years ago, rest in peace, I went ahead and messaged him on like Facebook. And I started talking to Tumbleweed and asking him like, what's he doing? And he was doing a lot of religious singing and he was really active in his church and he had a very strong faith in God and he just was a really great guy and he was very popular with his people. You know, Tumbleweed, he made a lot of friends in his life and he was just very popular his whole life. And he had passed away, like I mentioned, 7 years ago. And he was about 65 years old when he passed. But Tumbleweed Walton was kind of one of the famous celebrities of the 70s. And it's kind of amazing that he never won a race, but everyone loved Tumbleweed. And he was really a big time. He was placed in ads with like Sonny Nutter and Select Vans or something. And he just hung around with all the top riders. He was one of the boys. I'm not really hanging out with these guys, these old timers. Maybe because I'm a teenager still. But Tumbleweed, he hung out with all the famous old time racers and he just was a character and he was beloved by all who knew him. And he just was one of those icons of the 1970s Speedway. And like I mentioned, he wasn't the top rider at all. In fact, like I mentioned, he probably never finished a race in his life. But he just was really a cool dude. And he was a big guy. And he was huge. And everyone said, like, how can this big guy ride a speedway bike? How can he fit on a speedway bike? He's so big. He's so huge. But Tumbleweed was a cool dude. And he was a nice guy. And like I mentioned, I had got together with Tumbleweed. And like we had chatted and stuff. And he just was a good human being. And he was a singer. And he did a lot of religious songs as he got older. And he was beloved by all who knew him. He was like one of those guys you meet in life that you meet him and you're immediately attracted to that person. And Tumbleweed Walton, I think his name is Patrick, he was very magnetic to all those people who knew him. And like I say, he was deeply involved in his religious church and his people. And when he had passed away, he had a big service. And it was like lots of people from his church. They attended the service, and he just was beloved. And everyone, like I say, who knew Tumbleweed will never forget that guy. And it's sad he passed away only at age 65. But he was a big dude. He had trimmed down a little bit, but he still was a kind of a big guy. And like I say, he had a fantastic life. And he was remembered by all who knew him, especially in the 70s. He always liked to relate as a speedway rider. He was always liked to be included as one of those legends, the legends of the 70s. And Tumbleweed Walton will always be included in that group of people, those legends. And like I say, he was the worst rider who was the most popular rider of all, one of them. And Tumbleweed Walton was just a character, good guy, nice heart. He just was a quality human being. And we appreciate the life of Tumbleweed Walton, and everyone just enjoyed this guy. He was just a very class act, and he was just magnetic to all that knew him. So who do we honor today? One of the great speedway personalities of all time, not riders. There was a few good, better riders than him, but he made everything around him good, and he was electric. And for being not the best rider, he was definitely very popular. And rest in peace. God bless you, Tumbleweed, because I know he's religious, and I know he has a great relationship with God in the next life. So we commend the beautiful life, the beautiful human being of who, and that was Mr. Tumbleweed, Patrick Walton. Rest in peace.